$67. Hot deals during this hot summer at InsaneRadioDeals.com.
So there's this modern idea, erroneous as it is, that stressors are a bad thing. But on this TruthLaw.com Fast Take, we've got the stress of the eyes beaming down from us at Amherst County High School, where their football coach, Chris Moore, has introduced stressors, practice, and in training sessions to his team, trying to get them ready for close games, where they struggled in 2024 to get victories, ultimately costing them a spot in the playoffs.
We are VTRN Sports, 93.3 FM, W227BG Timberlake at 1320 AM.
This is Bart Winkler with a Sports Minute. Shedeur Sanders will be getting the start for the Browns tonight in their preseason debut. A cool moment for a guy who's worked his whole life for it. So why is everyone being so weird about it? We don't need the morning show debates about is this preseason game make or break. We don't need to wonder if the Browns are setting him up to fail. Sometimes people are distractions. Shedeur hasn't been this camp. The obsession over him is the distraction. Good luck tonight, kid. I'm Bart Winkler.
Check engine or ABS light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
While retinitis pigmentosa takes Mark's vision, his family gives him hope, whether at the family business or at home with his wife and sons. He knows he's not fighting alone. For 50 years, the Foundation Fighting Blindness has funded research into treatments and cures for blinding retinal diseases, providing hope to people with vision loss. And for Mark, winning the fight means being there for his family. The Foundation Fighting Blindness. Together, we're winning. Help us end blinding diseases at fightingblindness.org.
Get a $15 O'Reilly Auto Parts gift card after rebate when you buy 5 quarts of select Mobil 1 synthetic motor oil in-store or online.
O'Reilly Auto.
Savings are heating up, and so are the summer super deals at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile. You don't need super strength to get approved for credit. Sheeler owns the finance company. Getting approved for credit is super easy on the Motor Mile with financing options for every budget. Sheeler makes car buying easy with the hottest brands all in one location. Cars, trucks, vans, SUVs. Many have miles in the teens, remaining factory warranties, and some are even local one-owner vehicles. Over 900 used vehicles in stock now and ready to move. More than any other dealer in the area, plus exceptional service, selection, and savings. Need some summer spending cash? Sheeler will buy your vehicle even if you don't buy from us. Plus super money for your trade. Volume selling means volume pricing, and we've got the volume with over 900 used vehicles in stock now. No games, no gimmicks, just summer super deals at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your premier used car dealer, locally owned for over 50 years. ID1 exit 118C in Christiansburg. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
Your home is more than just walls and windows. It's where life happens. And at Right Choice Construction, we get that. We're not just builders. We're fathers, mothers, neighbors, just like you. And every nail and every beam reflects our commitment to creating a place you're proud to live in. With Right Choice Construction, you're choosing a team that's been perfecting the art of building for years. So build with us. Build with experience. Build with quality. Build with Right Choice.
You're stepping into the fast lane on the VTRN Sports app, 93.3 FM and 1320 AM Lynchburg, or by asking Alexa or Google Home, open VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, take the fast lane through the topics that matter across the Commonwealth. This is the Fast Lane with Ed Lane.
And welcome to another edition of the Fast Lane with Ed Lane. Today I will be hosting TJ Wilkerson, who usually is just in the back for the most part, helping Ed with the show, giving some commentary from time to time. Today, Ed trusted me to take over his show for today, next Friday, and potentially several other Fridays as we prepare to head into high school football. We'll be hosting Jefferson Forest here on the VTRN Sports Network. You don't want to miss that. High school football, so much stories around high school football itself. For teams who don't often see the championship route, right? Every year when you miss the mark, what's a common word that you hear a lot, right? Redemption, revenge, right? More so redemption than anything. Like, let's take a look at the Liberty Flames, for example. And I promise you, I'm getting to my point here as we start here in the fast lane. We got a good show for you guys today, by the way. But redemption, it seems to be the main word, the main theme of many football teams, right? Depending on how you finish the season. Now, on a college standpoint, from the teams that we cover, right? Liberty, Virginia Tech. All three of those schools are looking to redeem, right? Redeem from last season, redemption on improving for their fan bases, improving for their programs, improving for their coaches, and coaches trying to improve for their players. We spoke to Jamey Chadwell Wednesday. Ed had a great conversation with him. And you can just tell that Jamey Chadwell was not happy with how the season went down last season. Well, you start 4-5-0, right? Then you drop 2 games. You get upset by Kennesaw State. And then you go and lose to Jacksonville State the next. You finish the season on 2 back-to-back losses, including a bowl game loss in the Bahamas Bowl to Buffalo. 8-4. Hey, that sounds good to a lot of programs. Most programs would dream of that record, right? But since Jamey Chadwell, and I'll even go further back, I'll even say since Hugh Freeze took over for Liberty before going to Auburn and ultimately giving this team to Jamey Chadwell, who has taken over ever since Hugh Freeze went down south to Auburn. The standard at Liberty that started being set a couple of years after they finally approached from FCS level to FBS. And we watched as Hugh Freeze and his teams put on a great performance. And then came Jamey Chadwell's first magical season that ended with an undefeated regular season record. And then you go into the Fiesta Bowl, lose to Bo Nix, Oregon, but it's still a magical season. So all of a sudden, 12-1 is the standard, right? The 13-1. We'll say that because they would go to win the Conference USA Championship. But then you go into the next season, you finish 8-4. And like I said, a lot of teams would love that. But for Jamey Chadwell and comments from commentators and media analysts alike that cover Liberty Flames, like our own Ed Lane, John Manson from the Sea of Red, Nick Pierce from Liberty Flames Sports Network. And I guarantee you, if we ever bring Alan York onto this program, he'll say the same thing. 8-4 is not where they want to be. Ian McCall said it himself, the athletic director. Redemption being part of Liberty season. And they, with the schedule they have coming up, I think it's easier, both said and done, in all honesty. Now, we don't know what Sam Houston looks like this year, and we can imagine Western Kentucky will put up a fight. There's a lot of talk about Louisiana Tech building a great team down there in their final year in the Conference USA. Liberty's going to have to face that. JMU, that big game itself, one of the most talked about Group of 5 matchups coming up this season is Liberty and JMU. How will they advance? UVA. We expect a standard in basketball. In football, it depends. But Elliott, since taking this job, Tony Elliott, has not only fought to strive to help athletes academically, which he emphasizes on many occasions when you see him in the media for press conferences. At ACC kickoff last year, I said, I remember asking Tony Elliott on the importance to him about athletes being successful academically as much as they succeed on the field, right? And it was an important point to him, a very important point. And UVA set a standard of a high 3.0 GPA for on average for most athletes. But then you look at the football field and look, 5-7 is not the standard they want to set. But it's a lot better than what they've been setting the past 2 seasons. Back-to-back 3-9 records. You can only hope it goes up from here. And then you go to Blacksburg, right? You step into Blacksburg and Virginia Tech, man. The mighty Virginia Tech, once a Big East team, now an ACC team, has been for many years, set a standard for themselves as a college football great all those years ago. From great coaches all around. And you look at Virginia Tech, Brent Pry, when he took over, this program was not in the best shape. But he has put together a good program. It's just, it's not meeting the standard. And you can factor in a lot of things. Look, Kyron Drones not being fully healthy, for example, right? The Miami game, the ending to that alone. I remember when that game happened, it was talked about for weeks on end. It was talked about all week after that Thursday night game. Virginia Tech ended up starting out with a solid program wins, but then when you lose games like the Rutgers, which they felt like they should have won, right? And then after that tough loss to Miami, you go on a 3-game win streak and then they lose the next 3. And at that point, it's like, okay, where do we go from here? Where do we set the bar? Redemption for a lot of teams here in Virginia, in the Commonwealth. And as the football season prepares to start, you're going to see that be a theme for many teams. You're going to see it be a theme for the Dallas Cowboys, for example. It's been a theme for many. Hey, we are going to redeem ourselves this year. We're going to go further than the wild card. We're going to go further than we have been in the last 23 years. Oh, we fell short. Oh, we didn't make the playoffs. Oh, wow, we lost to the 49ers again in the wild card off some ridiculous play. Redemption. We saw it in Washington. Look, Washington had a bad rep from the Dan Snyder era. New ownership took over. Jaden Daniels drafted. Team heavily improved. Redemption's not the thing for them this year. It's okay. We made it to the NFC Championship. We made it further than people expected. We exceeded expectations. It's not redemption for us, technically. It's just proving, hey, we're not flukes, right? We're not flukes. We can make it back to the NFC Championship, even with the losses that we've had in free agency. We picked up some great ones. Laramie Tunsil, right? We kept Marshawn Lattimore for another year. And once we get this McLaurin deal figured out, we will be good to go there. So if not Washington, what you could say it about a lot of other teams, though, right? I mean, technically, you could say it for the Chiefs after that Super Bowl loss. We got to redeem ourselves. We got to prove that we're still a dynasty. Redemption. It goes further out than a lot of people expect. We're going to see that a lot this college football season. We got a great show laid out for you guys here today. We've got several guests. We're going to have Katrina Sachon join us here soon, reporter for the Clemson Insider. We're going to talk Clemson football. Got Art Stapleton for the New York Giants. He'll be getting off a plane here shortly to hop on to the fast lane and talk about them before their game, their preseason game against Buffalo. And then Cedric Derecho joins us to talk Green Bay Packers. We're going to check on Malik Willis over there, see how he's doing, get some thoughts on that. They play the Jets tomorrow night. Meanwhile, Commanders fans who may be listening to this program, Commanders and Patriots tonight in the preseason, getting a look at the Washington Commanders a bit. Though we tend not to judge too much on preseason, obviously, for some teams, because for them, This is just players working their butts off to try and make the team, while others, it's coaches testing out plays and so forth and trying to get a glimpse of what works and what doesn't. And we're going to see that a lot here during the preseason time. But football is back. We're going to be super busy now here at Virginia Talk Radio Network as we bring you action for the Liberty Flames, Virginia Tech Hokies, Virginia Cavaliers football, Washington Commanders for the NFL level. We'll be talking a little bit of James Madison, obviously, as the season goes on. We'll be, as we get Shane Metlin in on Mondays, as we usually do, and so forth. But we also are going to be talking a lot about the ACC. Now, last year, 2 years ago, we watched Florida State go and dominate the ACC, only to fall horrendously, and Clemson retook the throne. And this year, you would think, okay, Clemson football, this is their conference to lose, right? You would think so. And we're going to get that opinion here now from Miss Katrina herself as she joins us here on the Fast Lane. Katrina, how are you doing, ma'am?
I am so good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for joining us here on the Fast Lane today. By the way, Katrina, correct me if I'm wrong. It's Katrina Sachan, right?
It's Sakin, but
Sakin.
It's a very easily mispronounced last name. Oh, yeah.
Heard. I'm sorry about that.
No worries.
But Katrina, we've got Clemson football.
Oh, yeah.
As coming up. It's an exciting time there in Death Valley, and I can only imagine the excitement you feel getting to cover this football team itself. What excites you the most for this Clemson football team? Let's start there.
Gosh, it is. I mean, you're right. It is such an exciting team. It's electric in Death Valley. It is. It really is like none other. And I think there's a lot to be excited about for this upcoming season. I think there are multiple moving parts that really simultaneously work together.
Mm-hmm.
I think that offense has really been built up over the course of the last couple of seasons and this past off season. I think there's been a lot of work done in spring ball and summer and heading into fall camp as we're in that now. I think that offense looks really, really promising. And I think that defense looks newer, but I think they're working on it, and I think they could be a pretty scary defense for sure.
They definitely have a great front line. Peter Woods, TJ Parker, two dynamic defenders right there on the front lines.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's good replacements in place of Barrett Carter, who was drafted this past year in the NFL?
Absolutely. I think those two guys are very, very fun guys to watch. Obviously, Clemson has a lot of faith in them because they took them to ACC kickoff this past or couple weeks ago. They took them. They're great guys, and I think their defense is going to look a little bit different without Barrett Carter. And I think figuring out how to maneuver past that is going to be an obstacle for them, but it's nothing that they haven't experienced before, and losing guys like that. And so I definitely think they do have an impressive front line, just like you said. And I think that there are definitely guys that are able to step up and fill those shoes.
There's Rena from the Clemson Insider and Sports and Culture Media, telling stories for athletes everywhere. And at ACC kickoff, she had a chance to do that, including with Virginia Tech's very own Kyron Drones. What was that conversation like before we dive back into Clemson?
Oh, man, Kyron is the best. He is the sweetest guy in the world. Love that guy. He is an extremely hard worker. He's a great guy. I think last season, and you're kind of in that location, so you've definitely done a deep dive. But I think Virginia Tech had a lot of expectations, high expectations for them coming into last season. And I think this season, they finished 6-7.
Yeah.
And I think there's a different perspective heading into this season, and Kyron and I had talked about that. But he said he's feeling good as well, and he told me actually, funny enough, off camera, he told me at ACC kickoff, he said if I had to suit up tomorrow, I would, and I could. He's feeling good, he's feeling confident, and I think he's such a hard worker, and I think that's extremely. I think that shows on the field, and I really think that Virginia Tech could take that I think he could really take that Virginia Tech offense in a different way this season.
Absolutely, and he's shown it on several occasions. You talk about growth and confidence, and you look at Cade Klubnik. He has grown. He has shown more and more confidence as the season has gone on. I know 2 seasons before ACC kickoff last year, I remember he told us that he had worked out with Eli Manning and them at their camp. And this year he had taken a lot of steps to prepare for this upcoming season. Talk about the growth that we've seen from Cade Klubnik, from being a young QB coming to a big program like Clemson to now we're seeing a confident young man who could potentially be a first-round draft pick coming into next year.
Definitely. I think the progress that Cade has made over the last couple of seasons is tremendous, and he has every single person and man support from that team, including the big man of Dabo Swinney. Dabo Swinney's all of his eggs are in one basket, and that's Cade. His ability to read defenses now, his ability to kind of maneuver around that pocket a little bit more, his ability to really just assess the offense and defense. It's been a really, really motivating change over the last couple of seasons. And Dabo is he's all in. He is all in on this Cade Klubnik thing. He's made that very evident in spring ball and summer and at ACC kickoff and throughout fall camp, the beginning of fall camp. He is extremely confident in Cade Klubnik, and I think you got to be. And I think the biggest thing for me of what I saw from last season and just kind of what I've seen in the last couple of months is Cade's confidence. I think it's grown tremendously from the last couple of seasons to where he is now. And I think that's one of the biggest things. It's going to take him really, really far in this season and hopefully in the pros as well.
We've seen Dabo do something where we don't see Dabo do, Katrina. We saw him dip a toe into the transfer program. Yeah. I know he hates using it, but he went in and grabbed 3 players in there. And why do you think he had to do that? I know he doesn't like it. I know he loves recruiting at a high school level, but what made him change his mind, even if it was just to grab 3 guys, including an outstanding linebacker from Bama?
I think we kind of touched on it. Obviously, the absence of Barrett Carter is going to hit them a little bit different this season, and so I think I don't know. Clemson last season, respectfully, they never beat a ranked team last season. They couldn't beat a ranked team last season, and I know another question that's probably going to come up is Clemson staying in the ACC? I know there's been so much talk about it. And so I think those two things they go hand in hand. I think Dabo is realizing maybe that, okay, hey, we didn't have much success against an SEC team last year. Mm-hmm. What does it look like being able to utilize the transfer portal, and what can our team possibly look like with the usage of the transfer portal? I think, I don't know what it was, whether it was pride, whether it was he's thinking, okay, I got this. I got it without, using those guys. But I think the absence of Barrett Carter, as well as the inability to beat an SEC school last year, was the reason for him using the transfer portal. And I don't think he'll ever admit it. I really don't. I don't think he'll ever admit it. And I like Dabo. I really do. I like him as a person. I like him as a coach. And so it's not a knock on him. I genuinely do like seeing that guy. And I see that man all the time at this point. And so, but I don't think that it's a knock on him nor Clemson. I just think he's realizing, okay, if there's a chance that Clemson leaves the ACC, if there's a chance that they move over to the SEC, Clemson right now cannot compete, without the usage of the transfer portal. I don't think Clemson has the ability to compete at a high level in the SEC. And I think you can run from the truth, but you can't hide from it.
I love that. You can run from the truth, but you cannot hide from that. That was great. Speaking of running, though, Gideon Davidson and the young kid out of Lynchburg here, now a part of this Clemson camp. And we've been hearing a lot of buzz about him. I remember Eric McLean told Ed Lane, hey, this kid is amazing. He reminds me a lot of Travis Etienne even. He's getting those kind of reps. What have you seen from Gideon Davidson from camp, and how do you think he'll translate into the college level?
I'm going to be totally honest. I haven't seen much of him. I'm going to be totally transparent. I have not seen much of him, but I've heard a lot about him. And what I've heard from him is extremely promising. True freshman. And I think I talked about it with my boss a couple days ago. I think out of the true freshmen in Clemson, I think he has some of the most pressure that's on him. And I know their coaches have been talking about, well, it's not pressure on him. It's just, he's just got to go out and do what he does best. But I do think there's a lot of pressure on him. And I think with the absence of Phil Maffa this season, I think the backfield and I think the ground game is going to look a little bit different. And obviously, just the same way, the absence of Barrett Carter is going to affect that defense, the same way Phil Maffa's absence is going to affect the offense. But I think it's a guy that is going to be able to progress, and I'm not sure what he's going to look like, but I'm extremely excited to see that. But I do think Clemson's going to utilize a lot of that of their receivers. They have a stacked wide receiver room right now.
Yes.
And I think that might be the route that they take. I know, like I said, we talked about the development of Cade Klubnik, and I just think Cade's going to want to show off that arm. Cade's going to want to show off those guys. And like I said, they're stacked at wide receiver. They've got a good group of guys in there right now. And so I think that's probably going to be, if I had to guess, if I had to put my chips down right now, I think that's what they're going to kind of prioritize this season.
Katrina Stacken joining us here from the Clemson Insider and Sports and Culture Media. Katrina, redemption is a theme for our episode today, as it is a theme for a lot of teams out there, redeeming themselves from the previous season. Clemson's been high, but when it comes to, like you said, facing SEC teams, Georgia and South Carolina, this year they face South Carolina again, obviously, because the big rivalry. They start with LSU. Where does redemption fit into the schedule, and how do you think Clemson will meet the expectations of redeeming themselves and maybe going further than the first round of the college football playoffs, should they make it?
They will, by the way.
No, for sure.
I believe redemption starts week 1, and I think that is regardless of whether you play an SEC school week 1 or not. I think LSU aside, redemption starts week 1. And obviously, you mentioned the South Carolina matchup that they fell short in last season in Death Valley. I think redemption starts with themselves. And I think, Dabo told me at ACC kickoff, he said, as important as the LSU game is, so is the Troy game. And, so is their Furman game. I think redemption starts within themselves. But, obviously lots of big games on that schedule, but I think it really has to start with themselves. And then they can move forward with that.
You mentioned it. There's lots of big games on there, but Katrina, what's the game that you're looking forward to the most, in all honesty, when you go to report for Clemson this season?
Oh man, I'm so excited. A cop-out answer would be all of them. Another cop-out answer would be week 1. I think LSU, Clemson, I think just fighting for the who's the real Tigers. I think fighting for who has the real Death Valley. I think that's going to be such a fun matchup. I think South Carolina, obviously, again, is going to be such a fun matchup. Maybe not for the Gamecocks, but in Williams-Brice, it's going to be a different environment than it was this past season. And I think that's just fun. I have a ton of friends who are South Carolina fans. My boyfriend's a South Carolina fan. So I think just that rivalry is so much fun. And obviously South Carolina doesn't have an NFL team. So that rivalry is so important each year. But I think if we have to talk about an ACC school, I think, I'm excited for Duke. Clemson didn't get to play Duke last season. And I feel like Duke is always one of those schools on the schedule that they they kind of always have circled. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what Duke's going to look like. I'm excited to see that matchup. I can't remember if they're playing at home or at Duke, but I am excited to see that matchup.
All right, Katrina, before we let you go, let's touch on it. Your team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, how are you feeling about them this year?
Oh, man.
TJ Watt officially signed. Look, most of those players may be as old as dirt when it comes to football players' ages, but there's a lot of talent on that team.
I think there's so much talent. I think I am a little biased. I'm an Aaron Rodgers fan. I really am. Yeah. I think it full transparency. I think I'll tell you exactly why I'm an Aaron Rodgers fan. Aaron Rodgers, obviously, he played in Green Bay, and Fox Sports would get a lot of the NFC coverage for those games. So it would be Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, and Aaron Andrews covering those games. So I grew up, obviously, like Fox was one of our local channels. So I grew up watching Aaron Andrews on my screen 24/7. Every Sunday, every Thursday night when Fox still had those primetime games on Thursday nights. So I grew up watching like the Aaron Andrews, Aaron Rodgers post-game interviews. And I just, I like fell in love with that team, that Green Bay Packers team was so fun to watch. And so when I heard that Aaron Rodgers was coming to Pittsburgh, I was ecstatic. And I am one of the like very few Pittsburgh fans that are actually excited to see him come. I think obviously he didn't get his full and fair shot in New York. But I think I would like him to prove to everyone else that he's still got a little bit of gas left in that tank. I think it's going to be a season where they're putting all their eggs in one basket. I think, with the addition of DK Metcalf, and I think, 2, 3, 4 years ago, the addition of DK Metcalf and Aaron Rodgers would have been like over every single billboard. Now, I don't know. Their age is creeping up there. I'm not sure what that connection is going to look like, but I'm excited for it. I'm super excited. Defensively, you mentioned TJ Watt. Obviously, the holdout and then the contract signing. That amount of money is ridiculous and absurd, but I'm so here for it because it's TJ Watt. So, and then, there are current contract. I was just reading about it earlier. Cameron Hayward's refusing to take snaps right now, or to play right now, because he's having contract issues. So I think there's a lot of other stuff going on in Pittsburgh right now, but I don't know. I have high hopes for them. I think I have high hopes for them every season. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what the Steelers have this season.
Well, Katrina, thank you for joining us here today on the Fast Lane to talk Clemson and a little hint of Pittsburgh Steelers. We appreciate you coming on. That's Katrina Sacken from Clemson Insider, Sports and Culture Media. You can follow her at Katrina Sacken on Instagram to see her content. Future ESPN reporter, in all honesty, if we're being honest here. And we can't wait to see your career skyrocket like it already has.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us here today. Katrina Sacken joined us here for the first segment. We got Art Stapleton, New York Giants beat writer, coming up next. Don't go anywhere. This is the Fast Lane. 93.3 FM, 1320 AM, VTRN Sports app, or ask that smart speaker to open VTRN Sports.
Mark Dalton here with Terry Volkswagen. Get ready to fall head over heels for the perfect VW SUV. One size doesn't fit all, though, and that's why Volkswagen has an SUV for everyone. From the compact and affordable Volkswagen Taos to the tech-packed Tiguan and the spacious Volkswagen Atlas. No matter which one fits your lifestyle, you'll love the comfort, performance, and safety. Stop by Terry Volkswagen on Forest Road in Lynchburg or check us out online at terryvw.com. Terry Volkswagen. You'll love our cars.
The thrill of Liberty Flames football returns this fall.
Give it to us. There it is. Touchdown, Liberty.
Be at Williams Stadium in Lynchburg when the Flames begin the chase for the Conference USA Championship. See all 6 home games, including a battle with in-state rival JMU on September 20th. Cross-conference games against New Mexico State, Delaware, Missouri State, and Kennesaw State. Season opener August 30th against Maine. Season tickets and full schedule at lufootball.com.
Some journeys start small. with small paws and big purpose.
That's how turtles fly. You see?
Every great partnership begins with the first step,
Yeah, let's go.
guiding them through the world so one day they can guide someone through life. With shared experience, confidence grows, and the path becomes clear. It takes time, patience, and love. But the reward lasts a lifetime. You don't just raise a puppy. You raise a future. Become a Dogs Inc. puppy raiser. Give a dog a purpose. Give someone hope.
Learn more at dogsinc.org.
Friday on the morning warm-up, Ty and I decided to have a little fun. A season-long draft of national championship contenders. Follow along all season long at Trey Lyle VT and Ty Tracy 90. And if you missed our picks, check out the morning warm-up wherever you get your podcast. Plus, Michael Massey, frontstretch.com, joined us to talk all things NASCAR. Monday, reacting to the weekend, including the Commanders' first preseason game. On the morning warm-up, weekday morning, 7 to 8 a.m. on BTRN Sports, 93.3 FM, 1320 a.m., and on the BTRN Sports app.
It's been said that 50% of advertising is wasted, but it's hard to gauge what 50% that is, except for businesses using InsaneRadioDeals.com. They've been putting their gift cards and gift certificates into the marketplace, which are then a direct tracking mechanism to figure out just how effective advertising is. Plus, they've gotten additional ads to run across the Virginia Talk Radio Network. To put InsaneRadioDeals.com to work for you, email ed@wiqoradio.com and visit InsaneRadioDeals.com.
Head to lynchburg-hillcats.com to lock in your tickets for the Lynchburg Hillcats this season. Now here's BTRN Sports.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
Redemption is the theme in today's Fast Lane episode. And one of those teams seeking redemption is the New York Giants, who have had it a rough, tough and go. And the Hard Knocks episode that came out didn't help things as well. But there's a lot to be excited for. Look, new additions, drafting Jackson Dart, Abdul Carter. That defense looks ferocious. Love the QB room with Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and as we mentioned, Jackson Dart. But it's going to be tough for them. Look, front office, as we're hearing, is already in the hot seat. So we're hearing, but we're going to tap into someone who knows more than us. Art Stapleton, beat writer for the New York Giants from NorthJersey.com, joins the show to tell us, are we right that Brian Daboll and the front office must be feeling the anxiousness, the heat for success, especially when it comes to having right now the number one tough schedule? Art, am I right or am I wrong?
Well, it depends on who you're talking to, right? Thanks for having me. I think, they've gotten to the point now where they believe that they're heading in the right direction. Now, the proof will be what happens in week 1 and week 2 and week 3 and so on. But I think they believe they've solved the draft issues. They had a great class last year, and they think this year's class will be even more impactful with Abdul Carter and ultimately Jackson Dart at the top. Look, this is a year-to-year business in the NFL. So I don't think anyone could say they don't feel the pressure. They don't feel the urgency. This is a team that got off to slow starts each of the past 2 years, and things carried all the way through the season. So I don't buy the hot seat thing. I know a lot of people go back to ownership at the end of last season saying, John Mara saying, I want to feel better this time next year, which is the end of the 2025 season, than I did at the end of the 2024 season. Well, they won 3 games. So, of course, he wants to feel better. Yeah. I don't know necessarily if he put a number on it. You just have to see how the season plays out. And they have a lot of young players who have an opportunity to truly catapult this team if they progress the way the Giants believe they will.
A lot of people believe in media hype, and especially when HBO Max released that Hard Knocks story with the Giants. And I want to be careful what I say here. I wouldn't want to say laughing stock, but a lot of people were making fun of the front office last year for those clips. How hard do you think it was for the Giants to sell fans just because of what was shown in those clips? And do you feel like it's given them a bad rep coming into this year, whether there's improvement or not?
I think the bad rap is for any team that would have agreed to do a groundbreaking off-season show in which you basically opened yourselves up to the free agency and draft process. Let's not forget, Hard Knocks is always training camp, and the Giants were always wary of that because they didn't want the players or the team of the current season to be affected. But ultimately, all you need to know about what a laughingstock the Giants were and the criticism that came from all angles is that was a one and done. And I don't mean a one and done for the Giants, a one and done for the NFL. They could not convince another team to open themselves up the way the Giants did, because most teams operate the way you saw the Giants operate. And I think probably you have a handful of teams that operate that would be criticized even more so than Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll were last year. And ultimately the reality is that you win 3 games and you're going to be a laughing stock no matter what. But I do think that they put themselves in a difficult situation. But I think ultimately that would have been a situation for any team being in that spot. And I think all you need to know is that right now, no one else agreed to do it, and it went by the wayside after 1 year.
I will give the Giants this. I think the Cowboys would have made a bigger fool of themselves, especially if they did Hard Knocks the way the Giants did it last year, this year with the whole Micah Parsons thing. Oh, man. Lord have mercy. You want to talk about a comedy special? That's a comedy special right there. Art Stapleton, who joins us, beat writer for the New York Giants for NorthJersey.com. Redemption. The QB room. 2 quarterbacks seeking redemption for their careers, right? Look, Russell Wilson gets a bad rep, right? Jameis Winston got a bad rep, despite the fact that, hey, one of the most entertaining guys out there that a lot of people know. Why is the New York Giants the answer to their redemption? Or is this just the Giants piggybacking on those two until they feel like Jackson Dart is ready to go out later on in the season?
I'll give you a couple things. Number one, and I think you have to treat them a little bit separately with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, and obviously the presence of Jackson Dart, is that number one with Russell Wilson, you look at what he did last year. I think it was 16 touchdown passes, 5 interceptions in 11 games for the Steelers. He won 5 games as a starting quarterback. He ended up making the playoffs. He led the team to the playoffs. Now, granted, they lost their final 5 games to difficult teams. If the Giants got that play out of their quarterback last year, they would have won a heck of a lot more than 3 games. And I know some people don't like putting it all on Daniel Jones, and it wasn't all on Daniel Jones. But from a quarterback perspective, Russell Wilson just simply taking last season, bottling it up, and putting it into this season, I think the Giants believe that they will be improved at the position. And Wilson's looked good from the spring on. He's infused this belief, this confidence in them. Now, granted, week 1, week 2, they get blown out, and all of a sudden, maybe that confidence wanes a little bit. But they needed that. I wrote this in the offseason. Someone in the league told me the Giants went from milk toast in the quarterback room to Fireball whiskey. And that is the presence of not only Jackson Dart, and even to the point of Tommy DeVito being there as as QB4. Jameis Winston, and we'll get to him now, he's a number 1 overall selection in this league. Now, you can debate whether he's a bust or whether he's just didn't live up to the hype. He clearly didn't live up to the hype of a number 1 overall selection. And he's got that personality. But I do think that Jameis is a better teammate than he's given credit for. Jackson Dart during the draft process, before Jackson Dart ended up with the Giants and a teammate of Winston, was asked by one of these documentary series, what quarterback in the NFL would you like to be teammates with? And he said Jameis Winston. The idea of Jameis Winston and who he is, he's got a live arm still, and he's always talking and he's positive. But what people don't see, and I saw this in training camp several times, he holds these players accountable for things. And it's not just the stars. Jameis Winston is not looking at Malik Neighbors telling him, you broke off your route too soon. That's not happening. But Jameis Winston looked at a third team wide receiver that I saw. They were practicing on air. It was an install, and the wide receiver dropped the ball. And normally, third team, no one's paying attention because the first team is on the other side, second team's on the other side. And Jameis Winston lit him up and basically said, you cannot do that because we all need to be accountable. We have to raise the standard of the team. And for a Giants team that won 3 games last year, 6 a year before, they need everybody on this roster to kind of pull their weight. And I think Jameis Winston brings that element in this quarterback room that maybe we're not going to see from the outside, but I do think there's value in it. So, yeah, redemption. I don't know how much redemption Russell Wilson believes he needs, but I think league-wide, if the Giants get off to a good start with Russell Wilson at quarterback and he plays well, I do think that maybe the perception of, oh, well, Russ is washed, which I admit, I had that perception, might not necessarily be reality in 2025.
Art Stapleton joining us here on the Fast Lane. A couple more questions for you, Art. We know that front seven is super powerful. Dexter Lawrence, Abdul Carter, obviously the new draft pick. I mean, Brian Burns himself has looked amazing his entire career, and now he joins this defense. Kayvon Thibodeau. You look at that backfield, and I love the addition of Javon Holland. What do you think he brings to that backfield, especially when you look at it, it's a young defensive backfield?
Yeah, it's communication. I think the Giants realized in hindsight, and look, they could only do so much last year. Then they brought in the one piece in Burns. They gave him the $30 million a year contract. They made the trade, and they knew they had to fix the offense. So they were going for one more shot with Daniel Jones last year because they had him under contract, and it was, okay, we're not going to get the quarterback by trading up for Drake May, which is what they tried to do. But they didn't put talent and personnel into that defense. They had what they had, and they kind of rolled with it. They were seriously missing leadership on the back end and communication and guys who just able to kind of piece together the 3 levels of a defense. And Holland does that. And Holland, I think, is a great player to play off of Tyler Nubin from Minnesota. He was the Giants' second-round pick last year, played a lot last year, swimming a little bit early, and then by the time he started coming into his own, he ended up getting hurt at the end of the season. I think that pairing could end up being really underappreciated in the league. You could look at the end of this season, if the Giants defense plays well, Holland and Nubin could be guys that are playing well at the safety spot for this team. And I think they acknowledged the fact that they needed to put more talent on the back end. I think they did that with Holland. I think they did that with Paulson Adebo. And I do think they're counting on guys like Nubin, like Drew Phillips, who they liked last year a lot. He's their nickelback. You look at all the analytics. Analytics loves, Pro Football Focus loves Drew Phillips in the nickel. So we'll see. And they've got to come together at the other corner spot opposite Paulson Adebo, and that's Tay Banks from Maryland. And if he can't do it, it'll ultimately be Cordell Flott. But Banks has kind of pulled away a little bit in that competition. I've had people tell me that, Banks was a CB2 all along, and he was miscast in a role as CB1. And right now, with Adebo being there as the number 1 corner on the team, they think that Banks could kind of settle into a number 2 spot on this team, and then you go from there. But, look, only time will tell.
Art, what is the game? I asked this for every beat writer reporter for NFL teams. Outside of the NFC East, what is the game you're really looking forward to covering this year? When you look at that schedule, what makes you lick your chops?
You mean in terms of the Giants game?
Or, yeah, in terms of the Giants, yes.
Look, I mean, I don't want to sound, like I'm just taking the easy one, but, week one against Washington, and Washington was the darling of the league last year. The Giants they felt they had Jaden Daniels and the Commanders beat early in the season. Now they go back down there. There's going to be all the pressure on Washington, no pressure on the Giants. I think that season opener, and then the Giants go to Dallas in week 2. If you're the Giants and you want to make a statement, play well in both of those games, steal one. Maybe if by some chance, you play exceedingly well, you steal 2, and you're sitting there at 2-0, and then you got, the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes coming to MetLife Stadium for the home opener on a Sunday night in New Jersey in the shadow of Manhattan. So I think you got to go right there to the beginning. I'm eager to see this Giants team, to see if they can, match up with some of these teams who on paper have an edge psychologically over them because of what they were able to do last season. That's where the Giants have to match it. The physical talent, you're not going to all of a sudden overcome the talent edge that the Eagles have, so to speak. And it's unfair to think that you're going to overcome the advantage that Jaden Daniels gives them at quarterback, at least not right now. But I do think that psychologically, the Giants need to be able to take a punch and they need to be able to throw a punch. And this team has not done that the last couple of years. And I think early on, they need to be the team that stands up to the other team and the opponent and says, you know what, we're not going anywhere. This is where we want to be. And that'll give this defense a little bit of an identity as well, if they can do that.
Art Stapleton, beat writer for the New York Giants, has joined us. Art, thank you for joining us here on the Fast Lane. We hope we can have you on here soon or on one of our other sports programs. It's been a treat. Thank you for taking time out of your day. And we hope you have a great time there in Buffalo for the preseason game between the Giants and the Bills.
Thanks very much. Jackson Dart and Abdul Carter. That's what you're going to hear for the New York Giants this weekend. So we'll see how they play out.
Absolutely. Thank you, Art, so much, man. We're excited. Art Stapleton joined us there. When we come back, Cedric Derecho to join us to finish off. We're going to take a look into what Malik Willis and how he's doing over there in Green Bay, as well as redemption for the Packers. We'll be right back.
Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile. You don't need super strength to get approved for credit. Sheeler owns the finance company. Getting approved for credit is super easy on the Motor Mile with financing options for every budget. Sheeler makes car buying easy with the hottest brands all in one location. Cars, trucks, vans, SUVs. Many have miles in the teens, remaining factory warranties, and some are even local one-owner vehicles. Over 900 used vehicles in stock now and ready to move. More than any other dealer in the area. Plus exceptional service, selection, and savings. Need some summer spending cash? Sheeler will buy your vehicle even if you don't buy from us. Plus super money for your trade. Volume selling means volume pricing. And we've got the volume with over 900 used vehicles in stock now. No games, no gimmicks, just summer super deals at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile. Your premier used car dealer. Locally owned for over 50 years. ID1 exit 118C in Christiansburg. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
When it comes to legal matters, there is no substitute for experience. Hi, I'm Randy Trost with Trost Law. We've gained knowledge from serving Virginians for over 4 decades. Since 1982, we've handled auto accidents and personal injury cases ranging from simple fender benders to complex tractor-trailer cases. And we're ready to put our experience to work for you. We hope you never need our services, but if you do, just give us a call at 777-HURT or visit us at trostlaw.com.
Hot weather is right around the corner. Save money on those summer cooling bills by upgrading those old drafty windows. Discover energy-efficient, easy cleaning tilt-in windows now with Collins Custom Builders. Our customers have relied on us for 35 years to provide the best in windows, siding, gutters, and more. Plan early and call today for your free estimate. Find us online at collinscustombuilders.com.
This fall, Saturdays belong to the Hokies.
Oh, and these Hokie fans are going crazy here in College Town, USA.
Lane Stadium, electrifying, iconic, the best in college football.
Oh, you'd have to be here to believe it.
Built by tradition and fueled by passion.
Breaks free at the 10, to the 5, touchdown Tech.
Where every roar and every cheer brings you home. Are you ready to start jumping? Tickets on sale now. Visit Hokiesports.com.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
And as we drive back into the Fast Lane to finish off this show, look, we've talked about redemption arcs on the Fast Lane today here on this beautiful Friday down in Virginia. We mentioned Liberty on its path to redemption from a season that they didn't like, a season that they had where they felt like they could have been better. One Conference USA again, potentially, had things shaped up. We spoke with Katrina about Clemson and talked about Clemson wanting to be back in the top 4 of college football programs, which they've slid down a bit. Then we talked to Art Stapleton and the New York Giants, and we talked about the Giants' redemption arc after being a laughingstock on HBO Hard Knocks, and then having the season that they've had with butts on the line and how they hope, despite having the toughest schedule in the NFL currently, number 1 toughest schedule, on how they hope to perform. And Art, Katrina, they gave us great insight on their respective teams. And to finish it off, we have a lot of Green Bay Packer fans here in Virginia, with the Green Bay Packers being such a high-marketed team. And today on the Fast Lane, we picked up a guest from Green Bay, Wisconsin, off of WFVR, local CBS 5. Also one of my coworkers for PBJ Productions, which is on the come up. And this guy is also and so as long as I did when watching that episode. Ladies and gentlemen, Cedric Derecho, intern for WFVR out of Newhouse, Syracuse, and current reporter for the Green Bay Packers. He's seen it all. First off, Cedric, loved the episode, man, on the worst takes, man. I thought it was incredible, and I can't wait for other people to watch that.
I appreciate that, man. Definitely had a lot of fun, just shooting the breeze, with some friends. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We mentioned it when we brought you on here at the last part of this hour. Look, today's episode, Cedric, is about redemption. And the news stories that I've seen you put out, most of the players that you've spoken to, Josh Jacobs, star running back for the Green Bay Packers, most of that wide receiving room, the veterans that are on that team, they've all talked about redeeming themselves in Green Bay this year because the standard in Green Bay wasn't set last season. They feel like they could have done better. How much of a redemption arc, Cedric, have you seen building up in Green Bay in training camp? And how does that start when they play against the Jets?
It'll be interesting because the game against the Jets tomorrow, Matt LaFleur said that all of his guys have to be ready to play. He wants to get his starters meaningful minutes. So look for Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, and company to get perhaps more than just a series, perhaps 2 or even, 3. Look for some meaningful snaps out of those guys. I think that in terms of a redemption arc, I think that guys are hungry. They're not happy with the way things ended last year. All of the guys in that locker room make that clear. There's a lot of guys on the bubble fighting to make this roster right now. And then whatever the case may be, whichever guys make this final 53-man roster, they're going to be ready to go out there and compete in this NFC North.
Cedric Derecho joining us here on the Fast Lane to talk about the Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love has come a long way, Cedric. Since being drafted, people booed him when he was drafted. Aaron Rodgers threw a hissy fit about it, ultimately finally departing after making 2 off seasons of drama over it. This is now Jordan Love's team. And we've seen success from Jordan Love, but we've seen him needing to grow in some areas. Have you seen that growth throughout training camp, or is it too early to tell?
I would say that I've seen some strides there. You know, he's definitely the leader of this football team. The whole team is behind him. I've seen him make a heck of a lot of nice throws, you know, in training camp. But obviously, I do think that it is a little bit, you know, early to tell. This is year 3 of Jordan Love. You know, you had a lot of the legendary Green Bay Packers quarterbacks, you know, make huge strides in year 3 for them as starters with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, with both of those guys actually reaching the Super Bowl in, you know, year 3 of them starting. So that is a high bar to follow. It remains to be seen what Jordan Love can do, but I can say this as of right now, he does look good.
That's good to hear, actually. Really rooting for the guy. I'm wondering, do you think this Jordan Love story, whether he pans out the way Rodgers did and whether Brett Favre did, do you think he's going to follow that little circulation of being with Green Bay for most of your career, then being with random teams like maybe the Jets or the Vikings, as Brett Favre did, and now we saw Rodgers go from the Jets to the Steelers?
The Sports Betting Network. Welcome to Make It Rain with Adam Shine on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Yes. Hello,